Hey, what's up guys, it's Darius, and if you want a new phone that does everything well and doesn't have any major flaws, then a flagship used to be your only option. But as you know, they're very expensive. In 2016, this luckily isn't the case anymore, and you can just get a great experience for a very reasonable price tag. These are in my opinion the two best budget options out there. This is the Alcatel Idol 4 and this is the Moto G4 Plus, and they both retail for $250. Anyways, starting with the packaging, the Moto G4 Plus comes in a simple Moto style box with not many accessories. The Idol 4 on the other hand not only comes with a ton of accessories, but the box itself is a VR headset, which is brilliant. Design-wise, they're very different. The G4 is larger, made from plastic, and is more ergonomic. The slightly textured soft touch back is removable, and under it you find a microSD card slot. And as you can see, it also comes in a dual SIM option. But note that not all of them have dual SIM support. The Idol 4 on the other hand is made from metal and glass and feels a lot more premium. And it also looks better. Now the downside of its design is that it's a huge fingerprint magnet. The back isn't removable, but its SIM slot can be used with either 2 SIMs or 1 SIM and a microSD card. Both of them are also a little slippery. The Idol 4's back is super slippery, but due to the sharp edges, it sits securely in the hand. Now on the G4, it's a little worse. Its back is fairly slippery and the rounded edges don't give you anything to grip really, so you might drop it. I did, and mine got a tiny bit scuffed up. Speaking of durability, both are very solid, but due to the more premium materials used on the Idol 4, it seems to be a little more sturdy. The G4 on the other hand has a water-resistant coating, which is not to be confused with an IP rating. One huge selling point of the G4 is Moto Maker. The Idol 4 basically just comes in black with different accent colors, but the G4 can be customized in any way you want. You can even get a wooden back, and that should also improve durability. One small difference is that the Idol 4 does not have a camera hump, while the G4 has a small one. This might not be a big deal, but this way you can type on it with it lying flat on a table, and it doesn't move. Taking a look around them, they both have a micro USB port on the bottom, and while the buttons are much nicer and clickier on the Idol 4, they're a little too recessed for my taste, and I do not like the placement of them. It's definitely much better on the G4. The Moto also has a fingerprint scanner, which is very fast and accurate. Sadly, it's not a button, which is a little weird, and you have to use the on-screen buttons. The Idol 4 sadly lacks one, but it also has a special button, the boom key. It's placed where the lock button should have been, and it can activate certain shortcuts or animations. I personally don't use it much, but I guess it can be useful. Now these are both budget devices, but one area where they both can beat almost every flagship out there is audio. They both have incredible speakers. The Idol 4 has dual front-facing speakers which sound really good and get very loud, but what's even more incredible is that it has them on both sides. That means no matter what way you place your phone, you always get amazing sound. The G4 Plus has only one front-facing speaker which doesn't get as loud, but in my opinion sounds even better. Not by much, just a little richer. Moving on to displays, both feature a 1080p IPS panel. The G4's is bigger at 5.5 inches compared to 5.2. The G4's display is also a tiny bit more saturated, and the colors are more on the warmer side compared to the Idol 4. Viewing angles are equally good in both of them. Now a smartphone, no matter how good it looks, is no good if it doesn't perform well. Luckily that's not the case with these. They both have mid-range specs and perform really well. The Idol 4 comes with 3GB of RAM, while the G4 Plus comes with 2, but for $50 you can double that and quadruple the storage. I have the 2GB version and everything performed really well, so I don't see a reason to upgrade that. One thing to note, the G4 lacks NFC for some weird reason, so if you use it a lot or need it, then you have to go with the Idol 4. Anyways, like I said, performance is great. Not quite as good as a flagship, but they get surprisingly close. Loading times are a little longer than on my S7, and I did experience a couple of app crashes, but I can count those incidents on one hand. So overall, they're great. This is mostly thanks to the software. They both run Android 6.0.1. The Moto G4 runs basically stock Android, with a couple of additions by Motorola, like the very cool always-on display and a couple of nice gestures like twisting to open the camera. The Idol 4 doesn't quite run stock, but Android is mostly untouched, with just a very light skin on top. Of course, it also comes with a couple of additions from Alcatel. There's double tap to wake, and most noticeably the aforementioned boom key. It can be programmed to launch certain apps or shortcuts, it can improve audio quality and clarity, and you can even use it to wake the phone, but sadly not to lock it again. Sadly, there's quite an amount of bloatware installed, but it mostly can be uninstalled or disabled. Moving on to the camera department, this is usually where budget devices fall apart, but also this is luckily not the case with these two. They are both fine in good lighting and can produce some very nice images. I wouldn't say one is necessarily better than the other. The Idol 4 favors brighter images, which in return are a little overexposed. In terms of colors, the G4 produces a little warmer images, and it also has auto HDR, which the Idol 4 lacks. They also both focus more or less equally as fast. In low light, they both are not that good. The images become a little washed out. There's some visible noise on the Idol 4's pictures, and the G4 Plus does some over sharpening, which doesn't look great either. The camera software is super simple on the G4, and I do prefer the one on the Idol 4, which is a little more complex. They both also come with a couple of different modes, which include a manual mode. One minor annoying thing on the Moto is when you want to take a video, you can't just click to capture, you have to actually change the mode. Speaking of video, they both shoot some very nice digitally stabilized 1080p video. The G4 does a slightly better job, and the focus is also a little quicker. On the front, the G4 has a decent 5 megapixel front-facing camera, and the Idol 4 a slightly better 8 megapixel shooter. On the Idol 4, however, you find something very rare. The notification light doubles as a selfie flash, which is a really great idea. Battery life was good on both of them. I am a heavy user, and they both got me through the day without any issues, and usually with a bit of juice left. The Idol 4 does last a little longer though. I can't really give you an exact number, and since usage is very different for each individual person, I ran a Geekbench battery test. The G4's runtime was 4.5 hours, and the Idol 4 lasted an incredible 8 hours. In real life, however, the gap between the two isn't as extreme, and they both have very good battery life. They both also support fast charging, but sadly lack wireless charging. Like I said, they both retail for $250 and are amazing smartphones. Both are a really great value. Let me know in the comments down below which one you prefer. Now here's the small issue. The Idol 4 in the US is Cricket wireless exclusive. If you live anywhere outside of the US, it's no problem at all. But in the US, you could just buy one and unlock it. It's not such a big deal. If you don't want to do that, just get the G4 Plus or its bigger brother, the Idol 4S, which is however in a different price category. Again, stay tuned for my full review of that. There's also the regular G4, you can get that. It's basically the same phone as the G4 Plus, it just has a slightly worse camera and lacks the fingerprint scanner and is $50 less, so you can also get that. Anyways guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave it a thumbs up down below, comment if you have any feedback, and make sure to subscribe for more videos in the future. See you guys in the next one. Bye.